Welcome everybody, this is Tyson Thompson with Tyson Speaks. I am glad you have tuned in. If you have not subscribed, I need you to subscribe. I have great content, over 30 years of wonderful experience bringing good news and information. All right, now today we're going to go right into our lesson. We're going to talk today about that rut. Okay, the rut is horrible, being in ruts. Being in a space where you feel complacent, non-existent, you're not moving. It's kind of like stagnant water. If you know anything about water, when it's still and it's stagnant, no movement, no flow, it becomes toxic. And when we become toxic, sometimes it's because we are not moving. You have to be intentional if you want a better job. If you want better, more intimate relationships, you have to be intentional. If you want to have a better connection with your children, you have to be intentional. If you want to be better, become more. If you're not intentional, nothing happens. I'm going to talk today about how to get out of ruts, about being intentional, about getting relationships of value. We're going to talk about developing skills a little bit too. Now, I got a story to tell you. Last week I was, cutting hair. I still perform as a barber, one of the greatest professions in the world. I have the opportunity to connect with people, which is the real meaning of life, is connecting and building relationships. Well, this young man is about to graduate, and so I asked him a question. I said, "What's your plans?" He said, "Well, I'm gonna go to college, but I really prefer to pursue this or that," right? And I won't get into details exactly what he wants to get involved in, but it's involved in like acting, theater, performing. And he said the curve is really hard there. He didn't use the word the curve, but he was tapping into something. He said it's just very difficult to get into. And I said, "Well, are you good at it?" And he said he was good. He said his family, friends, teachers, when he performs at school, they all love it. They say it's really good. But he said, "I don't think I'm willing to do what it takes to get there." And I thought to myself, what a wonderful, wonderful young man to recognize that he's not willing to do that. I remember when I was a sophomore in high school, I was playing football. It was pretty good too. They used to call me the leg cutter. I was slow though, but I was pretty good. But to make a long story short, I'm doing tour-a-days, playing football, sweating, tired, and all I could think about was going back to the barbershop to cut hair. And I realized that I am not going to go to college. Didn't want to go to college, had no aspiration to go. I'm not knocking college. It just wasn't my thing. Why would I do this? For camaraderie? I said, I got camaraderie at my barbershop with the homies, the fellas, we have a good time. So I made a decision that I'm not willing to put in the work to get to the next level. Matter of fact, I don't want to get to the next level. So why am I doing this? So I quit. Perfect segue into what we will be talking about. This book, The Dip. Great book, great book. This book is by Seth Godin. He is a marketing guru, you all. And I will go into details here shortly. But after talking to the young man about his career choice, he realized that I'm not really willing to make the effort or put in the sacrifice to become great at it. So he decided to do something else. Sometimes we're in ruts only because we have not made a decision that we know we need to make. Whether that's a negative relationship that's toxic, whether it's a dead-end job, whether it is my eating habits, whether get a new car, or should I transition within my company? Now listen, I'm not telling you to go and quit your job. I'm not telling you to go and drop that relationship. I'm not telling you to do those things. But what I'm saying and what I'm proposing is that you add something to your life to help you gain clarity about what your next moves are. In my industry, I size people up as infants, adolescents, and teenagers and young adults. Then we go to adulthood, and then we go to seniors. And what I found is in the beginning of a business, and this was one of my students, he verified this. In the beginning of his business, he said, "Tyson," he called me a couple of months in, "I can't do this. I'm not going to be able to maintain this business model." He said, "It's not working. I'm not gaining enough money. I said, you have to be patient. I said, remember, your business is brand new, just like a newborn baby. And you all know newborn babies need your undivided attention. They can't do anything for themselves. They can't change themselves. They can't eat. They can't crawl, walk. They can't even talk. If they're sick, you just have to figure it out, because they won't let you know unless they have symptoms or something. But the point being, as I said, your business is a baby. It needs your undivided attention. So stay at work. Do not go to lunch. Bring your lunch. If someone calls in and needs to get a haircut and is after what your normal hours, stay and get them. The first year he made 45 grand. The second year, he, as a barber, this is cutting hair, he made 60. The following year was 75. The next year was 89, I think. And then he finally hit that mark that I would tell some of my students that you can reach, which is 6 figures. Well, he hit 6 figures, well over 6 figures. He said, man, I'm so glad you told me to stay. See, now his business is like an adult, okay? It's rolling, it's a snowball effect. But sometimes we are in this teenage phase. We're old enough to do damage. We have a car, we can drive, we can have a job, but yet we still need a lot of instruction. You may be in that position to where you know that there's more, but yet you don't know what to do next. So you get frustrated. Oftentimes when we get to this place, we start blaming everybody around us. If you're married, we blame our spouse. If you have children, we blame our children. If you live with a loved one, like a parent, mom, you start getting frustrated at her and nagging and attacking her. Maybe it's your boss or a coworker, or maybe a friend. We blame the government. We blame everyone else. And the reality is that we are internally struggling, because it's time for us to be intentional about moving forward with our lives. This right here is a plant. It's actually a fake plant. All right. So I can keep it and look fresh and green all the time. But just like plants, most plants, if you put them in a container, the container suppresses its ability to grow. It restricts the roots from expanding. But if you change the foundation or the base and put it in a bigger vase, then it can grow, because the roots have an opportunity to expand. And once you do that, then the plant can grow. See, what we see on the top is a reflection of what's undergirding the plant. If roots are, if the top that you see is this long, this tall, then the roots are that deep, whether they go outward or below. But underneath, if you have a tree or a plant that's this tall, underneath you have roots that are that long. The point is that you can only grow so much in certain environments. You can only grow so much with certain mindsets and mentalities. So what you have to do is you have to grow, develop, and become more. The idea is to produce fruit, to become more, to become more, to become more, to become more, so that you can be more for other people. And if you don't expand your horizon, then you get stuck. Sometimes we have to know when to quit. Like this book, The Dip, by Seth Godin. A little book that teaches you when to quit and when to stick. Quitters never win, right? That's not always true. In his book, he really goes into detail and talks about why is it so important that you become number one? Why is it so important that you contribute everything you have to make your dreams come true? Why is it important that you do not just waste your life away? You know, I always tell my students that the cost of a dream, whether it's big or small, is the same. And that's your life. Whether you dream big or small, it costs you the same thing. So you have to be willing. Are you willing to sacrifice for your dream? Are you willing to give all for your dream? Are you willing to do more to become more? My good friend Chris Staten always says that, what are you willing to give to attain what it is you desire? Think about that. If you're in a rut right now, consider your environment, consider your friends, consider what you do. Do you come home at the end of the day, watch television? Are you on Facebook, social media, Instagram all the time, YouTube? Is that what you're spending your time doing? Or do you come home and intentionally develop your skills to become more? Reading literature that helps you expand your mind, expand your thinking, connect with new people, start networking with people that's totally outside of your arena. See, the only way you become more is you have to do more. You have to actually seek more. And sometimes the people that is in your life right now don't have what you need. So what you have to do is be intentional to go get what you need. I was doing a workshop for a group, and it was a group of ladies, and I was talking about change. And sometimes it's difficult to change. And there's different reasons why, but change is inevitable. It's going to happen with or without you. You can get left behind or you can continue. But I was talking about the same thing about this SCurve. A SCurve, okay? It's called the sigmoid curve. And it's about being in certain positions at the right time, but also transitioning at the right time. So in the beginning, for example, me as a barber. I'm a barber by trade. I started off at 15. At one point, I was the youngest licensed professional in the state of Oklahoma. It was a good thing. And my business just took off. However, in the beginning, it was tough. And it took me a while to get momentum to where my income was growing and I had a good clientele and I was really booming. But that dip part was very difficult. That bottom part of that S, it was difficult to get out of it because of the ridicule. The people were criticizing me. I was messing up so much. I remember my cousin came in and he just got out of the Navy and he said, "Hey man, can you give me a haircut?" I said, "Yeah." And he looked sharp. He was all white, pulled out a big old wad of money. You know, he was just living large at the time. And he said, "Can you use a straight razor?" I said, "Of course I can." Never used it before in my life. I mean, I cut that man up so bad. My mentor looked down. He said, "Listen, son, all you had to do was ask." And I was trying to mimic what I saw them do, but he had been doing hair for like 30 years at the time, and I was a rookie. And man, everybody saw it. They saw me just butcher my little cousin. And it was so embarrassing, but I had to get through that process. And that S curve is called a sigmoid curve. And at the base of it, my business was still starting. It was an infant, and I had to give 100% attention to it. But at some point, I began to excel. It began to rise. So if you can imagine a S curve, just a S. And on my way up, I was very successful. But about 4 years later, I was starting to get frustrated. I felt like I needed more out of life. And I began to blame the people around me. So I decided I'm going to rush off and I am going to start my own business. Frustrated at my mentor at the time, who taught me everything I knew, but I was just aggravated. Well, I began to blame him. And out of frustration, I was going to do something different. But what I realized is that was a time to prepare to move. And it was me, something internally changing and turning to evolve and to become more. So a year later, I went to a workshop. There was a guy named Bob Harrison. He spoke, and that was my green light. So I didn't even go open my own establishment. I actually went to go serve somewhere else for another 4 years before I had another curve to shift and to change. See, it's not that I'm quitting. It's just that I'm evolving. I'm doing more. It takes a little more effort. And I wanted to be more. I wanted to serve people at a greater capacity. So I could not stay at the same place. Most of the time you're in a rut because you have refused to be intentional about developing, and you have to get out of it. It affects the quality of your life. Once I start making changes like that, and I start to realize that ruts are more mental than they are external issues. We know that there are disparities out there. We know that there are different things that hold one group back and promotes another group. However, there are individuals within groups that have been held back that push through the barrier, that go above and beyond what's expected. And you have to find a way to do that if you want to get out of your rut. I don't know what your rut is. It could be a bad relationship. It could be a bad job. It could be maybe you're physically not feeling well. Emotionally, you're just not finding your sweet spot or your happy spot. It could be a spiritual issue. But it's up to you to make the change or be willing to be intentional to get the help. You can make the change just in your mind. by being positive, by being focused, being intentional. Intentional is a big word. See, this is the thing. Growth and development is not seasonal. It's nothing that's trending. It's a lifestyle. Living life to the fullest is a lifestyle. It's not something that you casually do here and there. It's not like, oh, it's vacation time, it's time to go, or it's development time, it's time to develop ourselves. No, this is a continual thing. This will keep you out of ruts. It will keep you it'll keep you on focus, on pace, so that you don't fall behind. You know, it's a pattern. I know for me, I notice like every 3.5 years to 4 years, I go through a significant change. And it's not time for me to move or to do something different. It's a time to prepare, to cultivate new ideas and thoughts, and to prepare for what's coming next. See, I like to cook. All right. There's a part that's called prep work, where you chop everything up, you divide your ingredients, and then you cook. Right. And then there's another part that you eat. OK, so the part that's chopping up everything, chopping it up, dividing it up. See, that's the growth part. OK, that's the part where you're getting all the ingredients together, the character, your integrity, getting the right mindset, surrounding yourself in the right environment. See, that's that prep part. And then you have the cooking part. See, this is like your skills. This is the part where you actively pursue your goals by developing the skills that you need. You're not eating yet. See, we're just in the second phase where we're developing what we're looking to benefit from. Okay, where we've already prepped. Now we're cooking. This is when you get your hands dirty and you get your skills where they need to be. Like when I was a barber and I messed people up, oh man, that was a tough time. But it took time and time again, practice and practice and more practice and more practice. Then my skills got to be where they needed to be. And then I could enjoy the fruit of my labor. People were just running to see me. I was turning people away, so much so that the demand, my gift made room for me. The demand pushed me out of a door into another opportunity. That's how you get out of a rut. I'll talk more about the 3 steps that you need to do to get out of a rut next week. Wednesday, I'll be dropping another video. I'll be talking about serving. Sometimes we're so stuck, we don't know what to do. Go serve. The next step, skills. The next thing is developing those relationships. And I will tell you some things that you can do. If this has been at all helpful to you, please subscribe and share it. I will be coming out with more content about my book, Dream Another Dream. A lot of that's what I just shared with you is in here. It tells my story about getting out of a situation of poverty, dealing with rejection, domestic abuse, and all those crazy things that happen in our lives. And also don't forget Seth Godin's book, The Dip. This will go into detail about the dip and about getting out of situations and circumstances, whether you should stay in them or not stay in them. Okay, this is really good. Page 30, right? The essential thing to know about the dip is that it's there. Knowing that you're facing a dip is the first step in getting through it. Same thing with a rut. Knowing that you're in a rut is the first thing to do. Okay, that's why it's important to have a friend, a person that values you when you're at your best and at your worst, because you have a blind side. And sometimes you don't know you're in a rut. Sometimes you don't know you're tripping. Sometimes you don't know you stink, right? Your attitude. And sometimes we don't even acknowledge our skills or our gifts. We think we're not good enough, and someone comes along and affirms it. We'll talk more about that next week. Subscribe to my page, Tyson Speaks. Go to my website, tysonspeaks.com. Get my new book, Dream Another Dream. This is forwarded by the great author and lecturer, Clifton Talbert, who wrote Once Upon a Time When We Were Colored. He loved it. Good story about how he came about doing the forward for it. But I will see you soon. Be encouraged. And remember, Tyson sees your value. But if you don't see your value and your worth, it's impossible to have the energy, the motivation to be intentional about developing your life. So go serve somebody, and I will see you soon. Subscribe, push the button. Thank you.